We are the Center for Life Beyond Read. My name is Shania Siren. I'm one of the assistant directors for the CLBR. This is my amazing director, Alice Hara. I'll give her a chance to introduce herself.
Alice Hara, director of the Center for Life Beyond Read. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming, and I hope you're having a great time with your students. I actually came to Read 8 years ago because I came here with my 3 college-seeking sons. We did a campus tour, and I said, if you don't go here, I'm going to go here someday. and I'm here, and I love it. Read is the gold standard of liberal arts education, and it's really fun to run. I want to level set just for a second. The Center for Life Beyond Read is an advising center, all majors, all class years, and into their graduate years. Graduate school, pre-professional school, and career advising, and we are also Read's National Fellowship Center. So we advise on the Rhodes, the Watson, the Mitchell, the Marshall, the Schwarzman, all of the ones that require institutional nomination. So back to my beloved colleague, Shania.
Thank you, Alice. I've been here for 5 years. I've really enjoyed my work. It has allowed me to meet with students who are, I fully believe, going to be the people who make change in the world through a really intersectional professional interest. Today we're going to go over who we are and what we do and break down our advising model, our pedagogy. We're also going to talk a little bit about the data that we see in terms of who's coming to us and who's accessing our office, and talk about resources that we can point you to in supporting students in accessing us, and also some of the awards and funds that Alice just mentioned. And then we'll hopefully make some time for questions. So our goal is to help students not only find what it is they want to do, but instead of asking them, what is the job? Just tell us what you want to do, we'll slingshot you into that career. We're really trying to answer that question by understanding what their purpose is in the world and really helping them design the career that is centered around their purpose and their values and what they really care about, what really gets them excited, and help them build confidence through that. So our goal in doing this is to really consider the skills that they may need to develop to pursue that purpose, the community in which we can connect them to that might help them continue to consider what opportunities are out there that can help them test this interest and then reflect back on it. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that operates in our office. But as Alice mentioned, we are really unique in that we are one of the only career services offices nationally that does career, grad school, and national fellowships all under one roof. It's really typical where, from my experience, I actually co-manage our national fellowships portfolio. So I am usually the point person when your students access me and are interested in applying to the Rhodes or the Fulbright. It's very rare that fellowships lives under career services. It's more common that it lives under the honors college or institutional research. And I think the advantage here in it living under career services is that it really normalizes fellowships. We're really taking the ivory tower concept of who gets to learn about awards, who gets to access the advisors, who gets to learn about how to compete for funding that could transform their lives. We're really making that a normal practice in our offices. All of our advisors talk about fellowships to all of your students who access us. So they don't have to be honors college students to learn about these opportunities. And within that, it's really helping students understand that they can pursue their career interests without having to directly go to grad school or without having to necessarily directly go into the field. They can use fellowships as a way in which they can not only take a break after Read or in between Read, but they can also do that while it's still a developmental and experiential opportunity for them. And in many ways, we have graduated seniors who are finding ways to continue to fund their experiences abroad 1, 2, 3 years post-bac before returning for grad school. So fellowships is a unique way in which we are talking about what your pathway is. And within this is another very unique thing to our office. We operate under a communities of purpose model. So typically what we see is that if a student would need to go to one advisor for career services, one advisor for graduate school, and then a whole other office for fellowship advising. So your students having to really figure out at other institutions how to wayfind, how to hop around between these different offices that may have different people and different systems, different ways to book them. So under our office, your student is able to access one advisor through our communities of purpose model And through that, your student is able to have one advisor discussing careers, internships, graduate school, and fellowships. We use our communities of purpose model as the entry point, in that instead of coming to an advisor just for public policy, we instead encourage your students to think about, what is my purpose? Is my purpose in the area of sustainability? Is my purpose in the area of globalization and diplomacy? So our communities of purpose are really broad, intentionally broad, amorphous sort of industry areas. And we encourage your students to really just think about what resonates with them, what really connects with them in the moment. They're not declaring it, they can change their mind. But when your students go to make an appointment with us, we have them book according to the community of purpose. So it'll come up and they'll get to select the one that makes the most sense to them, and that's the advisor they're connected with. So we, from the very beginning, are initiating this conversation around, what is your purpose? What is your value? What areas do you care about? And the advisor you're working with is really helping you build a career path around what matters to you. And again, students change their mind. They'll access maybe 2 or 3 of us over 4 years, and that's okay. But it always centers back to what is your value? And if that changes, that's all right. And we do have, of course, pre-professional advisors as well. So it does make sense, especially for pre-health, pre-law, pre-med. We have advisors that are specifically in that area. But through our advising model, we really think about how can we be reflective and reflexive. So your student may access us, and we're going to take some time to think about, how do we synthesize your purpose? How do you actually really describe that back to me? And then from there, once we have kind of formed it a little bit, we start to think about, what skills do you have in that area? What are you learning in the classroom that's applicable? And maybe what areas for development, some weaknesses you might have. And we think about from there, how can we find you and connect you to the community that can help you start to build these skills through informational interviewing with alumni, through talking with recruiters? How can we start to connect you with the people who can help you better understand what skills you need to build? And then from there, what opportunities can we connect you to? Internships, job shadows, fellowships potentially. And then after you've completed that opportunity, we encourage students to reflect back with us. Did you enjoy that? Was that the community you actually thought it would be? Did you get something out of that that's going to help you build your skill set? And is this still your purpose? And we encourage students to do this multiple times, in and out, over the 4 years. Because our goal in doing that is that hopefully by graduation, maybe they don't know exactly what they want to do, but they've gone through this process of elimination. They really know what they don't want to do. They have a robust community of people in maybe multiple areas, and they have a better understanding of what that first job out of college might look like. And while it may not be their dream job, they really understand how that job connects to their values. And we know that students aren't going to stick around in that job forever. So we're encouraging this method of reflexivity over and over again, probably over the course of 5 years, from their first, second, and potentially third job, of continuing to think about, what skills do I need? Where is the community? How can I connect with them? How can I use that to obtain opportunities for myself? So very quickly, I went ahead and pulled our advising data. This is for the last 365 days. So we're operating at about 1,500 advising appointments a year. We have a really high rate of return, so this is not individual appointments in terms of we've met with 1,400 students. We actually have a pretty high rate of return. Our students usually access us about 3 to 4 times a year. But I am seeing, especially for what's exciting, is our sophomores are actually meeting with us more than our juniors are. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that is. If your sophomores have said anything about CLBR, I'm guessing it's that I've been emailing them a lot this year. But it's really exciting to see that we are having the freshmen and sophomores accessing us early. It's not just this waiting game until senior year where they're all meeting with us at once. But you can't see the seniors do really take up a lot of our time. But that we are trying to get your students in sooner rather than later. And not because if they don't meet with us early, it's going to be a deficit to their career path, but because we acknowledge that there is a hidden curriculum to understanding how to write a resume. There is a hidden curriculum to knowing how to network. These are not things that students just naturally know how to do. And our goal really over those first couple years is to teach them how to do these things and then continue to polish those skills in a low-risk environment. Because as freshmen and sophomores, we're having them meet with our peer career advisors. We're having them meet with recent grads, people who can really understand the process of READ, and having them practice networking in a low-risk environment. And then by junior, senior year, we're encouraging them to reach out to the director of Nike. We're encouraging them to have conversations with the vice president of Goldman Sachs. I say this because I'm the corporate advisor. But we're encouraging them to have like higher risk conversations with people who actually have the opportunity and affluence to get them the internship or job. But we're not going to throw them in right away. So as freshmen, sophomores, we're training them through low risk opportunities. We're having them apply to fellowship opportunities that are less competitive so they can at least practice competing for grants. Yeah. So then by junior and senior year, they have the confidence, they have the skills. I told you I'd talk about why we're seeing so many sophomores. This year, I will preface this by saying I'm in a doctoral program, so Alice has to deal with all the things I'm learning in class and how that translates into initiatives I want to do in my work. And this was one of them. We took some time to look at what are the attrition rates of Reed College? Where's that window of most attrition? And we found that it's in the sophomore year. And I think that for me, what I've noticed in my time at Reed is that freshmen have like a lot of resources being thrown at them. They're over-communicated when it comes to like orientation, connecting them with their RAs. There's a lot going on for freshmen. And then there's a little bit of a dip sophomore year. It gets a little quiet, and then it picks back up junior, senior year as we get closer to thesis. And so we considered, what is our role in that? How are we actually supporting sophomores specifically? And we found that we really didn't have a very cohesive plan, and that was something Alice and I committed to doing this year. So I initiated this sophomore engagement plan. The goal of it is to really help sophomores understand that there are non-academic mentors such as ourselves on campus, and career services is a really great way to do that because students are accessing us not because their grades are slipping or because they're having, they need support with their wellness or they are frustrated at their roommate. They're really accessing us for more or less positive reasons. They're like, I want to apply for this opportunity, or I'm thinking about this grad program, or I really want to do research with my faculty this summer. So for us, we recognize our role in being those mentors for your sophomores. And so our goal in working with them this year is we've committed to trying to meet with every single sophomore this year. It's a big class. But we've found that they are responsive. Like they do want to see us too. Mm-hmm. It might take a little bit for some of them to finally make it to us, but the closer we get to summer break, I have a feeling we'll see them. But it's really recognizing that what our work is really complementing the work of our faculty. We're teaching students how to navigate a mentorship relationship, again, in a low-risk environment, because we aren't the ones who are responsible for their grades. We are not the ones who are responsible for, their on-campus living and their mental health necessarily. So we're really here to sometimes be just like an emotional sponge for them, point them to opportunities that are going to move them forward, knowing that if they are too busy right now with class, that's okay. Come back to me later. There's always fellowships, there's always jobs, there's always internships. So we've realized that in meeting with all the sophomores, this is going to help them be better in understanding how their experience at Reed and their liberal arts education does connect into the workforce, understanding how can I support or how can I work with my faculty to really support my future. And so what we found is so far, in 8 weeks, we've met with 31.45% of the sophomore class. So we've seen a third of them, which I'm really excited to see just because it means that they are responding to us. They do want to see us. And I think the call to action, they've really risen to it. Yeah. And so we're on a trajectory to see about 70% at the rate we're at now. Again, as the closer we get to internship season, the more I think that will go up. But in doing this, we've also been given this wealth of data. So we are starting to have a better understanding of like what is challenging for sophomores this year, and how can I then consider the programming that we're doing to actually meet their needs specifically as a class. It's also been really wonderful to see sophomores actually, word of mouth is really strong at Reed College. So to see sophomores come in who's like, my friend told me I needed to come see you, so here I am. So our program is really catching on. And I hope that in doing this and committing every year annually to seeing all the sophomores, we're going to have more prepared juniors and seniors in the long run too, because we know that they will come back to us. And at least now we can say that we know that they know how to access us at least. So then by junior and senior year, they're that much more prepared. And I mentioned programming and engagement. So we have a couple things that make me really excited for in my work. So we have the Financial Services Fellowship. This is an opportunity where we take a cohort of sophomores to New York's Wall Street every spring break. And they get to be dressed down in their suit. They get to practice being in a boardroom. They get to practice being awake at 5 in the morning. And this is one of those kind of low-risk opportunities, right? It's a Reed Award. It's only for sophomores. The application pool is relatively small. So you have students who are like, okay, I'll try. I'll shoot my shot. There's no GPA limit. There's no major limit. It's any of the sophomores are eligible. So we have these internal funds on campus where freshmen and sophomores really do have the opportunity to begin just like trying, shooting their shot, practicing competing for fellowships and awards. And if they don't get this opportunity, there are plenty other ones, but we really see this as a scaffolding model where we recognize even when they don't get the fellowship, they have gone through a learning process. It's still a teachable moment because they've practiced being persuasive in their cover letter. They've practiced how to format their resume and their bullet points to the opportunity they're applying to. So we do see it as developmental, even when they don't get the opportunity. We have our Reed-sponsored awards, and I don't know if we'll have enough time to go over that, but I'm happy to chat more about how that differs from our national award portfolio. We have internship and job pipelines. Right now, I have I track them a lot. I don't think they realize how many spreadsheets they live in my Google Drive. I have 10 juniors and seniors right now, all in the process of getting internships and full-time analyst jobs at Morgan Stanley's Parametric. So we've really taken some time to figure out how can we build intensive pipelines with a small number of employers. So we really do focus on quality over quantity, where we have students who every summer go and work for Multnomah County. We have I track them too. It's 6 or 7 students every summer that go work for Multnomah County across the different majors and disciplines. So we've really taken some time to consider what are the pipelines we want to develop that actually connect with the values of Reed. And so even in the corporate finance space, I'm working with people who are really putting an emphasis on DEI work, inclusion work, and being really mindful about how are we developing students into long-term career tracks, that knowing that Reed students may transition out, and how do I know that those recruiters are taking time to develop my students if I'm going to be pushing them in that direction. We also have mentorship programs, and again, I mentioned we have pre-law, pre-health. We have the investment club for students interested in finance. So we are really trying to diversify the ways in which students do access us. It's not just through one-on-one appointments. So I mentioned one of our awards, and I really want to put this out to all of you because I'm excited to see if anyone has any insights. We have our Summer Internship Award. This is an opportunity for students to apply for funding. It's up to $4,700 for the summer to cover their cost of living for them to afford to be able to do an unpaid or underpaid internship. We recognize that this is important because we have students who are interested in the arts and theater where traditionally those internships aren't paid. And we don't want students to forego the opportunity because they have to be able to, work shifts over the summer to afford their lives. So we really want to remove that financial barrier so students can be able to do what are very valuable unpaid internships. And we were actually really thankful this year. we've had enough funding for this award now that we are actually able to do a non-competitive application process. In the past, it used to be there was a hard deadline, everyone would submit their applications, we would review and select the top half that we could afford to fund. This last summer, we had so much funding, thankfully, we were able to do a rolling non-competitive deadline application process. So we kept the award open until we ran out of money. As long as a student applied and was able to meet all of the application's guidelines and requirements, they got funded for the summer. What we found in doing that, a non-competitive rolling deadline process, was we had more freshmen and sophomores applying because they knew if they just worked with the advisor, met all the guidelines, they were going to get funded for the summer. And so it really removed, I think, some sense of imposter syndrome that our underclassmen are experiencing in applying to these awards. And so this is something we intend to do again this year because it proved to really open up, I think, students. It opened students up to us a little bit, or it's opened us up to students?
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Both ways. But we had freshmen and sophomores accessing us in a way that I don't think they felt comfortable doing that early on yet by doing non-competitive rolling deadlines. And I'll also just put a plug that if you know you can host an intern this summer, please reach out to us. Another one that's a little bit more read-like is our President's Summer Fellowship. So I really love reading for this award every year. It really, I think, aligns with READ because you never get the same project once. It's funding for students to tackle something. And it doesn't have to be career-related. It doesn't have to be academic-related. It can really just be like a project that connects to their interests, something that's going to be meaningful and transformative for them. And while oftentimes it is something related to maybe their career or academic goals, you see students coming up with really intersectional questions in designing a self-directed project for the summer. One example is one of our students did an 8 to 10 week project where this was a student who self-identified as being intersex. And they were like, I don't know anybody else who identifies this way. It's a really small population of people. And so they took this funding, they designed a project, and they were gonna travel around the US and find those people, find communities. They worked through nonprofit organizations to get access to these communities and reach out to them, have conversations with them, and capture their narratives. And then this student taught themselves to code so they could create a national public database so other people in this community could find each other. And it's things that like you would not have thought about, problems that they are considering and finding ways to feasibly create a solution over the summer. And so this is an opportunity that is only available to freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So again, we see a lot of underclassmen accessing this award as well.
If we can do Q&A, we have about 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Actually, I'm wrapping up anyways. This is how you can connect with us. This QR code will send you to our website. But again, you have the slide deck, and I can go back to the beginning if anyone missed capturing that first QR code. You're very welcome to reach out. We would love to hear from you if you have questions about our advising model or how we can help get your student in with us. I will say that a lot of students will come to us if you bring it up. Like they will be honest and like, my parents told me to come to you. It works, it does. After graduation, every year we have a wave of recently graduated seniors that are like, all right, I'm here, you got me. And it's because you all said something. So yeah, please feel free to reach out. All right, I know.
Wait, can I add?
Oh yeah, of course.
First of all, I just want to add, appreciate you, Shania, thank you. So there's 6 professionals in the Center for Life Beyond Read. I do want to say there are 4 professional advisors who have this holistic, integrated model that Shania just brought up. She's certainly a leader on that team. Each of them is assigned 3 communities of purpose. So that's how the advising model works. And we also have data and systems and operations coordinator, and then myself. And the second thing I just wanted to add to what Shania said about this first year and second year intentional strategy that we have. First years with the peer career advisors, and then sophomores with us is you all hear this all the time. I don't have any idea what I want to do, right? We want to normalize that feeling for students and move the conversation earlier than the senior year. So when we hear, I don't know what I want to do the senior year, we want to move that intentionally into the sophomore year. And that's where communities of purpose really comes in. Students absolutely know what lights them up. They may not know what they want to do about it, which is developmentally appropriate, but they do know what lights them up. And so we want to normalize that. And the second thing is using this summer internship award and the READ-based funding that she mentioned that's available to both first year and second year students, in addition to juniors and seniors. We want to give them concrete competitive experience. It's hard to get research opportunities and internships as a first or second year, just in general nationwide. And so we want to give our READies competitive and concrete experience that they have on their resumes so that they can move forward with the amazing internships that we have available that they will get in the research opportunities as juniors and seniors. So we're just pulling it forward into the freshmen and sophomores here. So with that, we are open to your questions. We have about 15 minutes or so. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.